A couple of the features on Apple Classroom after you set up your class set is the following. On the left side is the teacher iPads, and on the right side are the two student iPads. First off, notice that on the top there are groups that you can determine, and these groups are self-built, automatically built by the app that they are on. So for instance, if I do my top iPad and I open up iStation, then you'll notice that there's an iStation group now, and on this bottom one, I open up Starfall, there's a Starfall group now. When I close that app, that group goes back to the home screen. But again, those are automatic. If you want to, you can also use the group button. And let's say you want a group for the math station. So we're going to create a group called math, click return, and then in that group, we can add other iPads to it. You want to edit the group, you want to add more iPads to it. This is your main screen. You can choose multiple iPads or whichever ones you need. And so what's nice about that is that let's say that you want to go back and check on the math group. All you do is click over there and want to just switch through those that are in the math section or also in the all section. Another option you have is open. So let's say we want all our kids to go ahead and open up iStation. So we're all going to be on iStation. All the kids are on iStation. And click done. Now notice what happens if I press the home button on this bottom one. The student is able to get out of the app. Now to prevent that, what we can do instead of just clicking open and choosing the app, there's a toggle button on the bottom that says lock in app after closing. So I'm going to click on that toggle button, choose iStation. Notice it was on the recent, but also you can choose it here. The apps will relaunch, and now when I click the home button, the iPads do not close down. You can go ahead and open iStation on your iPad, or just click done to move on. To unlock iPads, there is the unlock button on the top. You can unlock individual iPads by clicking on the iPad itself, using the open or the unlock or whatever also options you have, or you can go ahead and unlock all iPads on that main screen that you're on, and it'll unlock all the iPads. Now notice that the apps do not close, but now when I push the top home button, that app is now able to close. The other option you can have is navigate. Now you can navigate either with the iBooks, and these could be iBooks that you've purchased and put on and pre-installed on the other iPads, or also PDFs that you've put on your iPad and then also on the other iPads that they can use. So these could be reading books, these could be story books, these could be instructions, whatever you decide. Or you can use Safari in your favorites section. Again, in Safari, under the book icon, there's a favorite section, and you can add favorites by going to a specific page, clicking on the share option, and using the add to favorites option right there. When you add those favorites and you're in Apple Classroom, you can go in and click on the navigate button, go to Safari and then to favorites, and then you can go ahead and send your iPads to a specific site. Notice when I click on Eduphoria Testing, it loads the Eduphoria app, the Eduphoria website. Again, these are Safari pages, so the students can open other pages using the plus icon for the new tabs, but you can still use the lock after opening and lock them to that specific Safari page, and then use the next option, which is the screens option, to monitor their use and where they go. So notice if I use up here on iPad number 2 on the very top, notice I can tell the kid is now out of the testing app. Again, I can use lock, or I can just visually notice that. So if you're doing multiple different stations and doing a station rotation, you can use the screens, keep the screens option open, and monitor what's going on with those kids on those iPads, depending upon what app. So let's say, for instance, iPad number 2, the top iPad, we want to go ahead and lock it down to that specific place because the kid was on the wrong site and you want to give them some kind of corrective procedure. You can click lock, grab that iPad. Again, I'm going to open up just the iPad number 2. This is my top iPad. Click lock, and notice that the iPad now says has been locked by Mr. Reed. We can go ahead and unlock this, and the iPad can then go on and do what the student's able to do, what they need to do. Now, for instance, let's say that the students are watching a video, and the video is too loud, or you have the audio through the room itself. You can use the mute options, and you can mute those iPads. Now, sometimes what I have heard is that using the mute option does cause the iPads to stay muted even after releasing the mute button on there. So a lot of times that will just need a restart on the iPad to fix. Sharing with Apple Classroom is one of the ways that students are able to share work or features with you as they complete assignments, or if they find interesting facts that you then want to share with the rest of the class. Now to do this, the student themselves will use the work themselves. So let's say, for instance, a student wants to show this iStation logon. They can grab a screenshot. The screenshot will appear on the bottom, or they can go into their Photos app. I'm going to click the Share button on the top right corner. And then if you notice, on the very top, it says right here, Mr. Reed. I can then go and share it with Mr. Reed. We then get a shared icon on our teacher iPad. We can see what they want to share by clicking on it. It downloads into our Photos app itself. It's been kind of moved around now. Here's my teacher iPad. I'm going to move it back where it was. So this could be a website. For instance, let's say we're doing research on the Underground Railroad, and the student on the bottom has been assigned to look up information on Harriet Tubman, and they find this really interesting article in Wikipedia about what it means to have women's suffrage. They can go ahead and again click the share icon, choose Share with Mr. Reed. You get a notification, even if Classroom's not up, because again, remember we turned on notifications. Go and click on one shared link, and you can go directly to that link. Now this can then be presented to your students via Reflector or Apple TV. Also, in the Apple Classroom, instead of just doing something like that, you can actually directly share. So let's say that you do notice that a student is using this Wikipedia article and you want to share it with your kids. So I'm going to go ahead and see that kid. I'm going to click AirPlay. Like that. So now, if you had Reflector up and you were noticing that these things are being shared, you can go and share this out. Or maybe it's an image, or maybe it's a way to progress through a learning game or something like that. The students can then share out what they've done based on each group. So if each of your groups were assigned to create a sock puppet or create a book, they could then present this way to where they now have the ability to AirPlay, but you are telling the students which ones, when to AirPlay, and you're controlling that management. So again, these are all different ways you can share from the student to your iPad using Apple Classroom. Those are all features of Apple Classroom. And again, this is a good way to manage those iPads in your classroom when you're doing things like station rotation or other options, adding you an extra set of eyes and management controls on those options. And when you're finally done with Apple Classroom, you can always click In Class. And on the In Class options, you can see what apps are being used and how long they're used and where they were used specifically. So this is a good feature you can use.